Ladies and gentlemen, it is a new day and it's time to dive into another class. If you're just catching up with us, we're going through every card, every set in Everfest, and we're giving them all star rankings, letting you know who the winners and the losers are for each card in each class. Who's the winner? What's the best class? Who got all the good stuff? Well, it could be Ninja. We're going to talk about Ninja today. Ninja is a spicy one, and we're going to start off with one of the best cards, in my opinion, in the set, and that's Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. It is a Ninja equipment headpiece that has 2 block, can block twice, but then it explodes just like other masks that we've seen, and by other masks I mean one other mask, and that's Mask of Momentum, a card which this is competing for in the slot. This card says when an attack action card you control hits, you may not search, you may destroy Mask of the Pouncing Lynx so that you can go search your deck for an action card with cost base. Wow, I read that all the way wrong and we're gonna do it again. That was a butchering of the reading of Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. So here's the reading again. It says, when an attack action card you control hits, you may destroy Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. And if you do, search your deck for an attack action card with attack 2 or less. Then you banish it, then you shuffle your deck, and then you can play that card. Why do I think this is one of the best cards in the set when we already have a really incredible game-changing mask in Ninja? Because this is also game-changing. It's sitting at Majestic. It is, and I know this is crazy because I know with the Guardian video, by the way, if you didn't see yesterday's Guardian video, you should go check that out. With the Guardian video, the Majestic equipment I gave a 4-star rating to because it was a solid option for that class and a solid swap out for the legendary equipment, right? It's a cheaper option for that. This is very much the same, but I would say that this is perhaps even better. It applies and works for all of the heroes in Ninja. You could use this in Ira if you wanted to. It's like really well positioned in Blitz. Like it's perfect for Benji, which I think this was clearly made for, but you can still use it in Katsu. And in fact, oftentimes Katsu likes the idea of pairing another tutor effect along with his own ability. And there's tons of things you can tutor. This card's incredible. It is definitely one of the best cards in the set in my opinion, and I have to give it 5 stars. I know it's weird because, yes, it is competing with Mask of Momentum, which is a legendary that is just constant pressure to your opponent. They have to completely play their game plan differently. This is sort of the same way, but it has the explosive potential of blowing out a game if your opponent allows this to hit at the wrong time and you have the right combination of hands, because you can string things together to be absolutely disgusting. And yes, it is incredibly good for Benji. Just because this is a 5-star card doesn't make the Mask of Momentum worse. It just means that this card's really good, and I think it's deserving of the 5-star rating. Break Tide is a 0-cost 2-attack ninja attack. It blocks for 3. It has a combo. Again, combo is an effect wherein the combo effect will trigger and turn on if it is played after a specific thing. And the specific thing it's looking for in this case are, well, 2 things: Rushing River or Flood of Force. And it says if Rushing River or Flood of Force was the last attack on the combat chain, Unbroken Combat Chain, if it's one of those 2 cards, and then you play Break Tide, then Break Tide gains +3, so this becomes a 5 attack. It also gains Dominate, so they can only block with a card from hand. And it also gains the text, when Break Tide hits, banish the top card of your deck until the end of your next turn. You can play it. This is a solid card, and it's interesting because this card actually makes Rushing River and Flood of Force strictly better than they were before. Like 100% better. In fact, Flood of Force was literally, in my opinion, the worst Majestic in Crucible of War. And all of a sudden, this card makes it playable, which speaks volumes to the power level of this card. Now, is it playable enough for this card to be warranted and worth it? This card is, for me, a 3-star card. It makes Rushing River, which was pretty decent but not great, makes Rushing River better. And it makes, like I said, the worst Majestic in Crew playable. and that is very important. On the base level, you can also just play this in Benji because it's a 2 attack, and even if you don't combo it, it just fits. Rushing River is already in that kind of range where it spans from 1 to 3 as well, so it can be played in Benji. You can play this in Katsu, and you can kind of line up the combo lines with Katsu's tutoring effect. If you have one of these things connect, this comes out, it becomes a 5 dominate, and it allows you to float a card for your next turn. And I think this is the really interesting ability. It costs nothing, it allows you to Kadachi, and it can float you a combo card to your next turn. Now your opponent does see that card. It sees what you banished, and it sees if you choose to play it this turn or if you float it over to next turn. But in doing so, you can allow yourself to draw naturally into combo lines that work with it, depending on whatever you end up banishing. And that is very, very cool. And again, this banishes anything. It doesn't have to be banishing like an attack or a combo card. You can banish a defense reaction with this. You can banish an instant with this. All things are open as far as deck building is concerned, so I think this is a solid little 3-star. You could push this up if you really liked the idea of the flexibility of the ability, but I do want to say that those, Rushing River and Flood of Force weren't fantastic. They weren't fantastic, and so this coming in and making the betters great, but it doesn't make them like god tier cards. Doesn't make them S tier by any means. It does make them playable and interesting though. Spring Tidings. We can skip this card. No one actually really likes this card. It's not very good, so we're just going to move on to Winds of... No, we'll go back. Okay, Spring Tidings is a 5-star card. Done. It's a 5-star card. This card is perhaps the only 6-star card in the set. I mean, can I even do that? I didn't make a graphic for 6-star cards. This is like the epitome of 5-star card. Spring Tidings, 0 cost, ninja attack, attacks for 2, and it blocks for 3. It is a Benji specialization, so only Benji can play it unless you want to play Shiana the Shapeshifter, and it is spicy in that deck as well. When this hits, draw a card for each other attack action card with 2 or less base attack you control on the combat chain. Go again. So it's got natural go again. It attacks for 2, which is perfect for Benji because it's then unblockable. And if you're able to make this hit, then you draw a card for each other attack on the combat chain. You play 2 attacks or less in Benji. Like, that's kind of what he wants to do. You play those cards. Range analysis is important when breaking down and rating cards, and so the range would look something like this. You play this at the start of a combat chain. It's a 2 unblockable that draws you 0 cards. But it is guaranteed go again. It does pitch for 0. It does pitch for yellow, and it does cost 0, so you can Kadachi with it. That's not a good card if you just played at the beginning of the combat chain. But the epitome of usefulness is you have 4 cards from your hand that all have go again and all attack for 2 or less. You play all 4 of them, and then Spring Tidings comes from Arsenal, and it hits, and you draw 4 cards. That's disturbing. Let's just say, after doing so, you draw into another Spring Tidings and a couple of other go-agains. 2 attack go-again. You play those out. You play the Spring Tidings. It hits, and you go again. This card can snowball like crazy. It can draw your deck like crazy, and I'm pretty sure it sets up comfortable OTKs. This card is a 5-star card. Straight up, end of story. Winds of Eternity, a beautiful majestic that pitches 3, pitches blue, of course. It attacks for 2, which is kind of nice because you could actually fetch Winds of Eternity off of a destruction of the Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. It's kind of funny that we talked about that card, and this card is structured as it is in the set. This costs nothing to play, and it says combo. If 100 Winds was the last attack this combat chain, Winds of Eternity gains +2, and when this hits, shuffle all cards named 100 Winds you own on the combat chain into your deck. So first of all, we should talk a little bit about 100 Winds. In fact, I'll tab over to it. 100 Winds is an attack that we will discuss here in a moment that can basically combo off of itself. And the idea being that you're, controlling wind or using the wind to attack your opponent with your attacks, and then you end this combo line of like 100 winds, 100 wind, 100 winds into Winds of Eternity, which then, instead of sending all of those 100 winds to the discard pile, the graveyard, then they all just go shuffled back into your deck. Is that good? I think yes. I think it is good. I'm giving this a 4-star, okay? The nice thing about Winds of Eternity is that it exactly what its card effect does. It takes the cards that all function off of each other, 100 winds, and it puts them back in the deck. Because in a way, 100 winds is good because it can feed off of itself, but the moment a few 100 winds go to the discard pile or to the graveyard is the moment that 100 winds in general as a combo just gets worse. Because there is no other line to this. It's just 100 winds and then Winds of Eternity. So this card allows that combo to propagate onto itself. And I think this is one of my favorite cards in this set, Winds of Eternity and 100 Winds, because of the possibilities for deck building. They're incredibly interesting. I want to build a deck with this. I think it's reasonably good, and I do think that a blue that can also meet all the Kadachi requirements, give you resources, attack for 2, which could be good in the 100 wins combo deck if you're playing it Benji or playing it Katsu. It's just so flexible that it's a perfect 4-star card description for me. This is a card that is actively better than just being average. It does something that you actively want to do, and it makes other cards better, and to the best of its ability as well. 100 Wins is the card that it makes better, and 100 Wins already, in my opinion, a good card, which we'll talk about here now, because this one is a cycle. You can get this in red, yellow, and blue. The red, of course, here attacks for 3, blocks for 2, which is important to note. The yellow would attack for 2, and the blue would attack for 1. This has built-in combo. If 100 wins was the last attack this combat chain, this attack gains +1 for each other card named 100 wins you control on the combat chain. Go again. So first of all, we should just look at this without the text. Looking at this, it just bare bones what it does. It is a 0 for 3, or 0 for 2, or 0 for 1, that blocks 2 and has natural go again. In other words, it's just head jab. Head jab is the exact same stat line, the exact same breakdown for the cycle of red, yellow, and blue, and the exact same block value and attack value. It's all the same. But this has the added benefit of the combo line that feeds off of itself, right? And the combo line feeding off of itself, I think, is very good, because it means you're not losing out on like the deck building difficulties of having to like really think about your ratios as far as, well, I have this many combo starters and then I need the second piece of the combo and I have to draw it roughly this amount of times, but I don't want to play this color of it because it's not very good and it messes my ratios. You just take all the 100 wins and you just smash them into the deck, okay? They all work on each other, and because they work on each other, drawing into as many of them as possible is fantastic. And again, this is why I think that card is a 4-star card, because this combo line is a 1-card combo line. Now, it does cap you out on being able to like do the combo, because you can only run in Blitz like 6 copies of this card, or in Classic Constructed 9 copies of the card. That being said, it's still incredibly good. I think this is a fantastic card. Natural Go Again is always great, and the combo line here, stringing itself into itself, makes for both fun gameplay and decently powerful gameplay. Like you can go, even if you just go like one color, any color 100 wins into the red 100 wins, it attacks for 4 for free with guaranteed Go Again, which is great if you're playing like Mask of Momentum and you're threatening mask triggers because you want it to hit. You could also do something like, it would be crazy. You could go the blue 100 wins, right? Blue 100 wins, it only attacks for 1, but it's guaranteed Go Again. Into the red, attacking for 4 because this sees the first 100 wins. into the yellow, which also attacks for 4 because the yellow sees the red, which also sees the blue. It sees both of those other 2 cards. So you'd end up going 1, 4, 4. All 3 have go again, and you can then, of course, tutor things out. You can Mask of the Pouncing Lynx more cards, 100 wins, or you can just go tutor out Winds of Eternity and shuffle those back into the deck and not lose them. I think this is also a 4-star card. Now, I want to acknowledge this. I can very much be letting my excitement for this combo line cloud my judgment. So leave a comment down below. Am I overstating these cards? Are they not 4-star cards? Are they 3-star cards? Are they 1-star cards? Let me know in a comment below. But in my opinion, I think both these cards are 4-star cards and easy additions into the deck. Well, into a variety of decks. The only downside to this card is that it blocks 2, and I think that is a great balancing point. We're going to talk about Ride the Tailwind next. Beautiful art on this card. This is another 0-cost pitches red, yellow, and blue sequence. It's a cycle. It attacks for 3, 2, or 1. It blocks for 2. So it's got the head jab structure and stat line, and it has the baked on guaranteed go again as well. So it's head jab plus when it hits the next attack action card with 2 or less base attack you play gains go again. So this is an interesting addition to a Benji because it opens up the possibility of playing other 2 attacks with perhaps beneficial on-hit effects or, like other kind of difficult problems that it could present to your opponent but may not have go again attached to them. And that's why I think this card is interesting. Now, outside of that effect, and really it's a deck building benefit, I feel like this is more of a deck building opener than it is like a raw power card. And so for that reason, I'm giving this a 3-star overall because it does open up deck building possibilities. Once you sit down and actually think about the card though, there are a lot of other ninja cards that you might just put in place of this. You may actually just want to run head jab and start doing the combo line for head jab. You may actually just want to run like 100 wins instead of this. You may just want to run things that already have go again because they have a beneficial effect that you want to specifically do. So it comes back to deck building for me. But I like the fact that this opens up the possibility for more deck building, and I do think that this is something that could see play because it allows other 2 or 1 attack cards the ability to gain go again and then threaten with whatever their natural ability is. So for me, this is a 3-star card. Waxon is a funny card. It's a defense reaction that looks a lot like Flick Flack on the surface because it costs nothing and it's got a cycle as well. This one blocks 3, 2, and 1, which is a little strange, but its effect says while Waxon is defending an attack action card with cost 0, it has +2 attack. This one feels very situational. If we were going into a meta that was still dominated by Briar, and maybe we are still in a meta that is dominated by Briar, but I would be hard pressed to say that we are. I think we are not in that meta, but if we were, this would make a ton of sense. It would see a lot of play. Still, there are a good number of classes that go wide and that attack with attack action cards cost 0. In fact, there's a lot of great 0-cost attack action cards. So this does have utility in that respect, and if you are running this out there against one of those, this is blocking 5 as the red. The yellow blocks for 4, and the yellow is fantastic in your deck because you can pitch this card on your turn to pay for both Kodachis, right? So the yellow works fantastically and it blocks 4 if your opponent is specifically playing 0-cost attack action cards. The blue here is a little strange because it only blocks 3 after the buff, right? And 3 is fine. 3 is like playable. But the yellow seems great. The red seems really solid. This to me strikes me as a sideboard card. Like, I feel like you could include this if you're trying to play like a turtle ninja control deck. You could include this in specific matchups and in your sideboard for those specific matchups. But if you're going up against an opponent like a Brute who's not playing 0-cost attack actions, this is a dead card in your deck. It blocks for exactly the defense value. And sometimes you don't want to block 3, 2, or 1 against those kinds of decks. So for me, this is a 2-star card, but I would put like a little asterisk and say that it is definitely meant for the sideboard of the game. And the last card we're going to talk about is Twin Twisters, a 1-cost 3-attack ninja action attack. also comes in a cycle. This one is a 3, 2, or 1 attack, depending on the cycle. You pay 1 for this, and it says choose 1. Twin Twisters gains when this hits your next attack, this combat chain gains +1, or Twin Twisters gains +1. So either this is a 1 for 4, sorry, a 4 for 1, I should say, if you choose the second mode, and this is coming across with natural go again, so it's like a leg tap. Okay, it's either that, or it's granting that +1 to the next thing that you attack with. This would be a really interesting card to play around with in Benji at yellow and at blue, because you can basically just play this down on, you know, like in a Benji deck, attacking for 2, choosing the first option to grant the +1 to the next thing that you play. This could be like your Kodachi, your next Kodachi. It could also be your next attack action card. And you kind of double up on the +1, because if this connects, if this hits at yellow, unblockable, and your opponent has to like do tricky things with their equipment or a defense reaction from Arsenal, things like that. If this hits at yellow, then it's going to buff up the next attack that you make from Benji's effect, and it's also going to buff from the card itself here, Twin Twister's effect. So I feel like this would be a fun little card to play around with in Benji. This has natural go again as well, so there is upside. You do have to pay for it, but that's not too steep of a cost, and attacking with this for 2 and 1 in Benji seems solid. I'm not sure I would ever really want to play this in Katsu, and I probably don't want to play this in Ira, so for that reason I'm giving this a 2-star out of 5. It seems like an interesting mess around with card in Benji, but outside of Benji I'm not sure I would want to put this into any of the other heroes. So ladies and gentlemen, that was Ninja. What do you think about Ninja? I think Ninja got some seriously good cards. I was very impressed with all of these cards as I was going back through them, and just watching as they were spoiled. Some incredibly powerful cards overall, some incredibly fun looking cards as well. I'd love to hear your own ratings and your own comments down below. Huge shout out to all the people that commented in the Guardian video. There were tons of great conversations going on. I loved reading those. If you want to pop that down into the description or into the comment section on this video, I'd love to hear what you have to say about these cards. If you enjoyed the video, do what the Guardian players did. They crippling crushed this sub goal right here. You can Kodachi for 1. I would just need 4 people to Kodachi for 1, and then we end up hitting that number, and that's a cool thing to do. If you hit that number, I would be very appreciative of that. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.